Welcome, everybody, to episode 95 of Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. This week, we are going to talk about the season premiere of Star Trek Lower Decks, and we've got a bunch of news to catch up on. So thanks for joining us. Hey, Johnson.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I can't believe it's our 95th episode.
I know, right?
That's crazy.
We are closing in on 100.
Yes.
Which is exciting.
Absolutely. It's crazy. I can't believe it's in that many episodes. That's that's a lot.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
A lot of Star Trek to be talking about.
A lot of Star Trek.
A lot off topic.
A lot of this shit, just recording with you, editing, writing show notes. Wow. It's approaching 100. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Have you made any inroads on trying to find our special guest for episode 100?
I have not, no. Yes.
Got it.
No.
Got it.
Yes. So we've got about a month and a half to go.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, I better get on that.
Better start reaching out to those publicists.
Yes. So 95. That's a lot of time spent with you.
It is. It is. Wait, how many episodes did Enterprise have?
Oh, that's a good 22 times 4.
Was it 22? Wasn't it like they were doing 25 episodes?
Maybe. But wasn't the first season shorter? Wasn't the first season like 18?
Was it? I know the Voyager first season was very short. But I think that was due to the writer's strike.
Oh, possibly. But I'm betting that they did not do 95 episodes of Enterprise.
They definitely didn't reach 100. I'm absolutely positive. Yeah. But I would stake my life.
So we
that.
Have gone on longer than Star Trek Enterprise.
Yes, that was the point. I'm trying to pull up Memory Alpha.
I know. I was trying to help you, give you the time you needed.
Literally, my computer is not being helpful.
I'm pretty confident.
These are the voyages. 97. Oh, we're not there yet. Almost.
Wow. 97. Okay. Is it 97, 98, or is it 96, 97?
It was only 1 hour.
Oh, right. It was not a two-parter.
No, it was not.
Oh, wow.
They were like, this shit is over.
Unfortunately, and that's when it was getting good with Manny Koto and these smaller arcs, and we were leaning towards the Federation being formed.
I'm glad I remember the name of the episode. It took me like 2 seconds. I was like, what was the name
of the
episode?
See, this is why I keep you around. You have a good memory for things like that. It would have taken me like minutes, and I probably would have used the internet.
Minutes.
Probably would have used the internet in order to access that information. So yes. Whereas you pull this stuff right off the top of your head most times.
It's just random. And it's very selective. It's not everything. So
but it is,
I still come in handy.
It is pretty significant for Legacy Trek. I don't know if you could do the same for like if we talked about Discovery season 1 or even Picard season 1.
Vulcan Hello, Battle of the Binary Stars.
Okay.
The Picard season 1. What was that one?
See?
It was some weird. It was like poetic.
Yes.
Like poetic shit.
Yes.
I don't remember.
And then we had Lower Decks, and I probably in the last couple of weeks, I actually rewatched the opener of Prodigy. Because remember I told you I was in the Philippines?
Remembrance. Oh, bullshit. Bullshit. Remembrance and then Maps and Legends.
Oh, yes. See, now you're...
Bullshit, whatever. No, it is. Like these titles are sometimes
Maps
just
and Legends
ridiculous.
is cool. No, you're thinking it's not like
No, Discovery has some of that BS too.
Oh
It's
yes,
like,
Magic that makes.
Bolting Ambition. I'm like, what the fuck
Oh
is
yeah,
that
that was
nonsense?
a Giorgio episode.
Yeah,
And then Magic that makes the Mattis.
Magic to make them saying this man go mad.
Yeah, something like that. So
Whatever. And then when they break up the Latin, I'm like,
yes,
it's all over.
yeah, which they have. So, but getting back to what I was saying is I rewatched the opening, which I cannot even remember the name of now, of Prodigy, because remember I was telling you that I saw the first half of I saw part one while I was in the Philippines, and then it cut off, and I was like, there
were like no credits.
There were no credits, and right as Zero enters the bridge of the Protostar. So I rewatched that like last week or whatever. But
it's a good season. Good show.
Yeah, you know what? Dal still gets on my nerves,
especially in the first 3 or 4 episodes.
But you know what else gets on my nerves too is I've been rewatching Game of Thrones, the first season. And, I remember watching it first time around. Well, all right. So it took me a lot of tries to get into it. So I probably watched the first episode.
Well, you're not into fantasy as much.
Not as much, but
it takes a while.
Yeah. Because Lord of the Rings, I would get right into. Like Game of Thrones, I had no basis for. But like if 10 years ago Lord of the Rings came out, like the series that's launching in a couple of days, then I would have jumped right on that because I grew up reading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So well before the movies were even, out there, that I watched the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit cartoons and, that sort of thing. So, but anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, which I have no idea what I was talking about now.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Getting into things. Oh, things that annoy me. Right. So Game of Thrones. I remember watching it the first time through, and I really felt badly for Ned Stark, right? And now I'm watching it. I've just finished episode 7 of the first season, and I'm like, you are such an idiot. Like,
he's dumb.
He
doesn't know how to play the Game of Thrones. That was the whole thing.
I know. But I guess I had thought of him more highly in my first watch of it, and now I'm like, you're although
he's like too naive.
Yes, although that's being traitorred by Little Finger.
Oh my God, come on.
Is
by Finger. He was fingered.
I mean, no. So yes, that that whole. So I just watched the whole like scene where he got thought he was going to take everybody down and take charge because he's the regent, as Robert wanted him to be, and then he got screwed.
Right.
So anyway, all that to say is that characters that may not have annoyed me on the first go annoy me now because they're stupid. But Dal is still annoying.
He's annoying.
Yes,
he's very annoying.
But we do. As
I think I was listening to this with this interview with the showrunner, and they were like, "Yeah, we did too good a job making him annoying."
Yeah,
it's true.
I would really totally agree with that. Yeah, it's almost.
And obviously, he needs to go on this journey. I get it, but it's like they made him too annoying.
Yeah, they kind of. Yeah,
it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it is hard to watch. I mean, yes.
He could have been annoying, but not so gratingly annoying.
Right. And so unwilling.
Like dial it back a couple.
Yeah. I mean, so stubborn and not willing to accept help and wanted to, like basically had to be almost dying to accept Janeway's help to restore the Protostar.
That little fucker. I hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
In any case.
But yeah, so we were at a wedding this weekend, which we had a great time at.
Correct.
Yes. Meanwhile, everyone else in Star Trek land was in Las Vegas.
Right.
So I've heard a few reports, but I think that one of the more interesting news pieces, actually the only news that really came out of there, right, was what you shared with me.
The Denise Crosby news.
Right. Yes.
Yes. I suspected that she was going to come back, but she specifically said that she was going to come back as Tasha Yar in some shape or form, which I did not expect. I expected her to come back as Sela. So we'll have to see how that pans out. I do not know what they're going to do. Is it as a mirror universe thing? I mean, she's older. Are they going to de-age her? I don't know.
Right. No, that's all.
They haven't done that good a job of de-aging, so I don't really want to see the end results if that is the case. But
they've gotten better. It's been progressively getting better. I wouldn't say it's like horrible, but they had season 2. They got better. Yeah. I mean,
de-aging is always tricky. It's always tricky.
Absolutely.
But I do have to say Disney and Lucasfilm has done it better if I had to compare the two.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's actually what I was thinking of, is how they de-aged Luke. And
oh my God, they did such a good job. I mean, like, it was job. Like
not the first
if you
season.
Like really paid attention to it, maybe, but honestly, it wasn't as distracting as Data. Like, I could not stand it. It literally took me out of the moment every time I saw Data.
It didn't work. I mean,
it was bad.
Well, at the part of the problem with Data, I think too, is that at least in memory for me, like Data, I mean, Brent Spiner was much thinner back in those days. Sure. And I think that's the distinction for me, is like his head is somewhat bigger. Like,
sure.
So
I mean, he's already unnatural looking, like the character.
Right.
You have all this makeup, and he has this like shiny skin, and he already looks weird. And then you try to de-age a character to make him look weird. I don't know. It just did not work.
No, but you're right. Lucasfilm does it much better. I mean, even from the end of season 2 of Mandalorian to the season of Boba Fett.
Right?
Yeah, Luke.
With Luke.
Luke and Boba Fett.
There's a marked improvement.
Yes. So they, and in fact, I think they hired someone who.
I think it's funny too, like with Rogue One, when they de-aged Leia at the very end. It was like, oh, she looks a little weird.
Yes, but they also did that with Tarkin in the same movie, right?
Yes, that looked. Yeah, he looked
better. They both looked weird. Yes,
they both looked weird. But by the time they got to Boba Fett, and you had that whole episode with Luke, it was much improved.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, they hired someone who had done a video online and done an amazingly better job than what they did.
Yeah, Paramount to do that.
It's, again, it's the things that go on at CBS/Paramount are.
There's so much talent out there. That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of talent out there. Literally, they can just go on YouTube and find someone's work and be like, hey, can you do this for us as a test? And literally hire this person.
Yeah, exactly.
They have the money.
I mean, Star Wars didn't need, Lucasfilm didn't need to do that. The guy did it without asking, and then they approached him after the fact because he did such an amazing job. But,
sorry, I'm eating ice. Makes sense.
Yeah. So, so Tasha Yar is coming back. I mean, so, for me, Tasha Yar was my first Star Trek crush.
Right.
So I'm excited to see what they do with that. But also in Star Trek news, which you shared with me, I think while we were in Boston, you texted me this. Star Trek 4 loses its director.
Right. What's the director's name? The WandaVision director?
Oh, gosh. I don't either.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's not going to work on. He's not going to work on.
He's not going to work on Star Trek 4. So that's now directorless. It's just
Matt Shackman.
Oh, okay. But he's going to work on a Marvel film, Fantastic Four. Right. He's going to work on Fantastic Four. So,
which has more of a hope of seeing the light of day than honestly Star Trek 4. So let's be honest.
And will probably make a lot more money than Star Trek 4.
Potentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, Marvel movies make hundreds of millions of dollars. And then, So,
yeah. Well, now that's dead in the water. The cast, at least based upon release reports, still hasn't heard anything. So it's like, whatever.
It's seriously, the Paramount PR engine just needs to be rewired.
Well, they just wanted to have something to say at a stakeholders meeting. It was of no true substance. It was dumb.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway.
Alas.
Well, Mike, I know you also want to talk a little bit about some other multimedia that is coming out, right?
Yeah. So, well, since we were talking about Prodigy, there are two books coming out in January for Prodigy.
Did that game come out, Supernova?
So one of them is actually the book about the game or related to the game called Supernova, I believe. And then there's another book coming out. They're both middle grade books, like 160 pages, you know.
I feel it's a little soon for a video game. I'll be honest. There's only been 10 episodes. It's not like, oh, we've built this rich mythology with all these characters. It's been years and years to tap into, and this story can fit into this time frame. It's like, okay, there's been 10 episodes.
I mean, as long as they're not diverting resources from doing the show to,
it's just like I feel it's a little soon, but fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's coming out next month. Actually, sorry, let's start with tomorrow. We're recording this on Tuesday, but Wednesday's New Comic Book Day. Star Trek Stargazer #1 is coming out, and it's a set between seasons 2 and 3, and it's about Picard and Seven's kind of rejoining Starfleet and what that means. So let me read you the quick synopsis since I have it here. Embark on a never-before-seen journey set between seasons 2 and 3 of Paramount Plus hit series Star Trek Picard. After a tantalizing offer to return among the stars arises, Captain Jean-Luc Picard takes to the bridge of the USS Stargazer. But when trouble rears its head on a once peaceful pre-warp planet from his past, Picard enlists the help of an old friend, and that old friend is Commander 7, or I don't know, I guess she'll go by Commander 7, right?
Guess so.
It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but yeah. So
neither does Commander Annika. I don't know.
Hansen, Commander Hansen, right?
Oh, Hansen, yes.
So
Commander Hansen.
Yeah. So that's coming out tomorrow. So I'm interested in reading that.
Are they both going to make it? Are they going to survive?
I mean, obviously, right?
It's just sometimes the stakes on some of those tie-ins. I'm like, okay.
Right. But this is actually also written by Mike Johnson, who's a longtime Star Trek comics writer, and Kristen Beyer. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, this really Kristen Beyer has her stamp all over Picard. So, and Mike Johnson is
for better or for worse.
For better or for worse. Yes, we won't get into that tonight. But
I actually think Kristen Beyer is talented. I just don't. I mean, there's so many writers. I don't even know who to blame for some of the issues that Picard has.
Yeah. No, it's all, yes, that's all kind of hard to tell. But she's
it's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. That's a problem. That might be the problem. I don't know. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Maybe.
I have no idea.
Maybe. So it's a 3-issue limited series run, which is what they did as a prequel to Picard 3 years ago.
Right.
So interestingly enough. So that's coming out. And then next month, and sometime mid next month, I think, comes the next Star Trek Picard novel, which I am trying to find which tab I had that in, but Second Self by Una McCormick. Yes. So, and that comes out on the 13th of September. So I'm looking forward to that. I will definitely pick up for sure, because it's coming out in a book, and it's being read by January Lavoie. I do like Robert Petikoff's readings, but
I don't know these people.
They're narrators. So that's some multimedia stuff coming out. I also think the Prodigy game is coming out at the same time as the books, or the books are coming out at the same time as the game is, which is early.
You just need to make a mobile game with Murph, and they'll make like millions.
Seriously. Yeah, absolutely. Every kid at Mission Chicago we saw, they wanted Murph.
That's my advice.
Yes.
Just make an easy mobile game with Murph.
Yep.
Like, you don't need these console games. Like, kids don't even own consoles anymore. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, I'll be honest, like, this is me as a gamer.
Yes.
Kids are on the phones and their tablets. They're not buying an Xbox. They're not even buying a Switch. Like, if you want to reach as many kids as possible, just make a mobile game.
Yeah.
With Murph.
And all you gotta do. Yeah. I mean, you literally could sell it for 99 cents and you'd probably make $1 million overnight.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I think that's most of the news. Nothing else really stands out from Las Vegas. I didn't hear any rumblings. I've heard some people.
Did you hear good reviews? And what's the Empire again?
The what?
The teller.
Oh gosh, I do not even care. Do not even bring that up because I don't care.
It's so dumb.
Yes.
I cannot.
The Krell.
Krell. Yes, the Krell. Thank you.
Yes. No. So I did hear some reports about there being really long lines for signings, and in fact, in several occasions, the talent had to go before they could finish the line, and so people were kind of turned away, and they had paid for tickets. So I don't know if they were eventually refunded or if they was another time added or whatever, but it was definitely complained about a lot. So really long lines. I mean, it was the most. I don't know the whole space, but from the people on the network said they had a good time, but there were some issues like that happening.
Well,
so
apparently it was very popular.
Yeah.
So
yep. So yeah, and next year's con has already been dated, and I guess they're back at
the Horseshoe.
Is that what it's called now?
Yeah, Bally's is now the Horseshoe or whatever.
So it's the first weekend in August.
Wait, is the Bally or the Rio? Sorry, no, I'm confusing. Where were they this year?
Perhaps the Bally. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know them, yes. So I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Rio. I guess the Rio was where it used to be. So now the Rio is going to be the Horseshoe.
Yes.
And this year was the Bally.
Yes.
I guess. I think.
Perhaps. All of those things are.
Are we going?
I don't know. That's a year from now, and it's 11 months, and
long time to be dead.
Yes, I mean I've already I just booked my next vacation, which is a birthday getaway with Dennis in November to the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have not thought much of beyond that. So, yeah. Anyway, shall we talk about the season premiere of Lower Decks? Lower Deck.
Yes.
Lower Decks.
We're finally here.
We're finally here
at the Lower Decks season 3 premiere.
Right.
First stage separation complete. Let's bring what I like to call the Warp Core online.
Sorry, Mr. Cochran.
What are you doing? Wow. Would you look at that beautiful blue marble?
It's working! It's kind of working!
All right, inputting dry dock coordinates.
Prepare to make history. Here we go. What are you doing?
Wow.
Thanks for riding with me, explorers. Please exit on the right and take all your belongings with you.
So, I mean, like we've talked about in previous episodes, I had seen this a while ago, but I've watched it multiple times. And now I just watched it like 5 or 6 hours ago again in preparation for this. So
how many times have you watched it?
At this point, 4 or 5.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes in the background, sometimes not paying too close of attention. But yeah, no. So I know what I think about it, but I'm curious what you think about it first. So
yeah,
what do you think of the season premiere of Lower Decks?
Yeah, it was good. I think that, and I don't know if what you said influenced me and if I would have thought different watching it. I don't think so. I mean, it was good. And it is what it is. It's true to itself. But at the same time, it's also, we've seen it before. It's nothing particularly new, I would say. And I think the thing that bothered me the most, but it's also the MO of the show, your dog is a distraction, by the way. Your dog is a distraction.
Just keep talking. I am trying to put him to bed.
Okay. Well, here we are. Yeah, I think for me, I didn't really like the resolution of the Captain Freeman drama. It was kind of, I'll be honest, I actually thought it was kind of disappointing, but it is also the DNA of the show in terms of how they resolved it. But I feel it was like all this hubbub, and then it was like, oh well, we resolved it while you weren't looking, basically. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it's very season 1, and I feel season 2 got us a little bit closer to the doings and the comings and goings of the bridge crew and the lower deck, building the relationship between the lower deckers and the bridge officers.
Right.
So I feel like we got more into the business of the bridge officers, and some of the stronger episodes from season 2 were actually those where we saw them interact more and do more stuff together.
Yeah.
So I feel this is almost like a throwback to season 1. And yes, it is the MO of the show, but I also was just like, it's all right. And then the whole thing with the Phoenix, I enjoyed it, but it was almost too much. I feel it was like too much. I don't know, and I don't want to just sound like I'm complaining because it's done well and it is what it is, but I don't know if it's almost like too self-referential to the point where it's like, I get it. Like, I don't know. It's not a bad show. It's not a bad episode. I don't know, but I just kind of like, when they went to the Phoenix site, in Bozeman, I was like, all right, like, fine, we're here. And then you have the First Contact music playing, and I was like, I get it. I understand.
I mean, it's such a great movie, First Contact, and
it is. No, First Contact's amazing.
So I feel like it was a homage to that, and actually that whole sequence was sort of almost my favorite part of the episode was that piece of it. Certainly the music is just so amazing. Including, the song that which is it?
Yes, Severin Cochran's CD or whatever. I don't know. His zip drive. I don't know.
Yes, his zip drive. Exactly. Yeah, we have smaller technology now than that. But yeah.
We basically have isolinear chips, like if you think about it.
Yeah, we do. That's true. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite part, seeing and hearing Zefram Cochrane. And
yes, James Cromwell made a cameo.
Yes, he did.
I mean, that was fun. Yeah. That was fun when the hologram, the Zefram Cochrane hologram came up.
Yeah, and the other piece of it that really made me laugh was just him, like, it's so Disney ride. You get the like, oh, I'm just fixing this. It's sort of like on the Droids ride at at Epcot, at Hollywood Studios, and
it's all of them. They're all like that.
They talk to you and say, oh, I'm just finishing repairs on the ship. Make sure to finish up your food and drink. It's just that was hilarious. So that whole sequence I really enjoyed. Yeah, I'm sort of with you, and the fact that the so in season 2, I think they invested more in the bridge crew and the command staff, and making the relationships between the lower deckers and the bridge crew, the command staff, more substantial, and sort of less of like the lower decks Next Generation episode where you have no clue what's going on, which is essentially what this whole show is built upon, is you don't know what's going on above you. And so they really sort of played into that for this episode. And I do agree it's sort of a throwback to the first season, but it also, while I was disappointed that we didn't get to see more of a resolution or more excitement around like Mariner going to save her mom and all of this stuff. It totally made sense after the fact that, of course, none of that is in the purview of these four ensigns. And it's just not part of what's important to this show. So it's just so
it's more about their journey than necessarily what they accomplish. It's more about them trying to get away with the Cerritos and Mariner's emotional journey of trying to, because she is so used to taking charge and getting her way, that she had to kind of come to grips with being not in control and letting the system do its work, which I also don't really know how I feel about that. I mean, it's like, trust the system. And I was like,
I mean, we're all kind of Mariner at this point in life where, none of us really trust the system because the system is not.
Even the Starfleet system, I'm like, it's failed us before, people. But
I did watch the Ready Room for this episode, and Mike McMahon said that you've seen enough procedurals in Star Trek that you kind of know what's kind of going on there, and that's and the way that they were talking about it is that, of course, the A story is not the focus of Lower Decks, so it's the B story or the C story. So it's so that was a good reminder. It does pay a lot of homage to Next Generation, but it also is the flip of Next Generation, where the B story is actually the A story and the A story is actually the B story or the C story even. So we don't really get to see that part of the story, but I think we got so invested in how the relationships were being built that when Captain Freeman was taken away unjustly, we all felt how Mariner felt, and we wanted Mariner to kind of resolve it.
Yeah, the thing is, I agree. And I think what my issue with what you just said about Mike McMahon's, it's his show, he can do what he wants, but it is one of those things where eventually these characters do need to grow and they need to be promoted, and it's not going to be another Ensign Kim situation. They're going to get recognized for their accomplishments. They're not all four of them are going to stay ensigns forever. And it's like one of those, it's like Veep. It's like eventually Selena Meyer becomes president. She's not going to stay VP forever, and the show is called Veep, but she is still kind of growing. She has ambition, and the world changes. The world moves on, and sure, the show still is what it is, but you find a way to, even though she's president, to still play into the fact that she still has a lack of power or something, because that's a whole shtick. I don't know if you watched Veep. I think you may have talked about it.
We've talked about it, and I have not watched it, but I get the gist of what you're saying.
Best comedy, one of the best comedies in the last 20 years. Anyway.
Wow. That's high praise from you.
One of the best comedies in the last 20. Absolutely. But it's just that eventually these lower deckers are going to go up. They don't need to stay ensigns and lower deckers forever, but you can still play into this theme of them being, you can be a lieutenant and still be like left out of the loop, and be frustrated about it. And that's okay, but your problems change and evolve and you grow along with it. But then you can still play into this theme of the show, which is like you're left out of the loop and you're not in the know or whatever. I feel there's a way to still grow these characters without going into this trope of they're just doing these menial things and they're just left out in the dust. But I feel that because I feel like that's the direction we were going in season 2, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I feel this again was kind of just like a throwback to old tropes.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah, I agree. But overall, I mean, I've enjoyed it. I think having that throwback to Morgan Bateson, which is interesting. From Next Generation, the gosh, what is the all I can think of is the number 3 because it became that was like the signal to Data to do what Commander Ryder said to do rather than to do what Captain Picard said to do.
Cause and effect.
Thank you. Yes. So that was kind of cool. Also, just going back to the very beginning of the episode, well, a couple of things from the beginning of the episode. I love how oblivious Boimler is to all of these women throwing themselves at him.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that scene. What did you think about that? I feel that it was just so. It's like lowest common denominator. Like, you know, these like scantily dressed girls that have like grape juice all over them and they're like throwing themselves at Boimler. I wish they kind of like change it up. Like maybe they could have like put a guy in there or something.
Oh, that would have been, that would have been cool.
You know, but I don't like, I don't like this. Like it's very old school, like 90s comedy objectification of women and they're these dumb girls that I don't like that comedy. Like I feel it's like the episode with like the Mugatus or whatever what they call.
Yes.
And it's just like, you know, lowest common denominator, like, you know, sex jokes, like penis jokes, size jokes, whatever. I'm like, that shit is clever. You know, I really didn't like that scene actually.
That's interesting. I know. I mean, I didn't, you know, I think it would have spiced it up to have a guy thrown in there.
Have a guy or have an alien or have a slug or something, you know, like just change it up. Like, this is a show where you can like, you know, really expand.
That's a really good call. I think that's one of the best pieces of feedback on this episode. Actually, is that.
Yeah, I really don't.
I can understand why.
And yes, Boimler. Yes,
I enjoyed it from the perspective that Boimler is just clueless. Right, that piece I enjoyed it from, but yes, the rest of it I totally agree with everything you're saying as far as that. Yeah, it is kind of it is too easy. It's low hanging fruit. Like change it up, challenge it a little bit.
Like they can be better than that. I just you know, I don't.
It would even be cool to like have a guy come in and do that, but do it in a different way, in a way that where he thinks like he's being bro-ish, like kind of, like he could be like bi or something like that, and like sort of coming on to Boimler, and Boimler just thinks, oh, he's being a nice guy and wants to be my best friend or whatever. And Mariner points out the fact that no, he was actually hitting on you, and like just having some different dynamic like that would have been really cool to see. But and then the other thing that I love how every year they change the opening sequence of the Borg battle. So
now they added the crystalline entity or something.
The crystalline entity, and I feel like it's changed a little bit more. I feel like there's something else.
They had the Packlets. They had Klingons. The Romulans. The crystalline entity was the one that stood out to me, but there might have been other things.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I felt like on this last viewing that I didn't pause it enough, or I didn't pause it to really look at it, but felt like there's something else besides the crystalline entity in that scene that
there might be. Oh, and speaking of the opening, now, you know, so with Stranger Worlds, they've started to add the Star Trek universe.
Oh, yes. At
the beginning, and this one has a Cerritos. I was like, oh, cool. That's neat.
I couldn't tell from it whether it was an animated Cerritos or a model, you know.
I do not recall. I think it was animated.
I think so too, but I want to say it was so realistic that it could have looked like been a model, like digital model of it.
I don't know.
But yes,
that was. I guess they're going to add that to all the shows.
Yes, so I guess we'll see what
it's like. Star Wars, like the Star Wars.
Oh the heads, the helmets, and things like that.
Helmets.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this is a fun. There were parts of it. I guess the other piece that I was bothered a little bit by was just how violent Mariner got with her friends.
Oh, we've seen that before.
Yeah, I don't know. The same way that the opening scene bothered you, for me, it bothered me that she was that, like, her friends are trying to help her and she's that angry and that upset that she's actually beating up her friends. I thought that was a little bit over the top. So yeah,
it's like that scene where she's what game is that? The Japanese game with the sticks,
Jumba
and the visor.
Yes,
the one that Will Riker played with his dad.
Yes.
In season 1 or 2, I don't even remember. Season 2,
and then that she played against both.
And she and
Rutherford.
She really beats them up.
Yes.
Like she impales Rutherford's hand or something like that. It's like ridiculous.
I mean, she's also impaled Boimler's in the premiere. She did that to his leg with a batla. So when she was drunk,
was kind of an accident. They were both screaming.
Yes, but she was also drunk off Romulan ale. But anyway, yes. So I just thought it went a little bit too far for her to beat the crap out of her best friends who were trying to honestly help her.
Yeah.
Like, had they worked together, they could have potentially stolen the Cerritos together, like, instead she had to do it on her own. And I think that,
she didn't want to get them into trouble.
Right.
That was the whole point.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, they even told her, we don't care. Like, so at some point, I don't know. It just, that bothered me. That was part of,
Sure. No, sure.
Okay. Well,
we haven't talked much about Rutherford and Tendi. I mean, they played more of a perfunctory role in this episode. They were at Cisco's.
They were. A nice callback. Nice animated recreation of that restaurant.
And the Federation News Network was airing everywhere.
Yes. FNN.
Yeah.
Yes. There were a lot of little cool little things in it for sure. That I had for the.
Yeah, I didn't look at the ticker, but apparently there are a number of Easter eggs in the ticker. I don't know if you.
I saw one. I read a couple of them. I'm trying.
There was a Jellicle call out.
Oh, there was. Oh, that one I missed. I missed the joke.
Yeah, I didn't bother going back and freezing and trying to read it all.
Well, they do like to put those in there. So there were probably others that we missed that.
I'm sure there are plenty of Easter eggs in the ticker.
Yeah. Well, all right. Anything else about Lower Decks that you can think of?
Yeah, I am interested to see where things net out with Ransom now being in charge.
Oh, right.
Of Mariner.
Yep.
We've seen their dynamic before. It can be very contentious, but then also kind of there's a little bit of like sexual attraction. I don't like we've seen.
Yes.
It kind of has run the gamut in terms of the different emotional ranges that define their relationship.
Right.
So I do wish we got a little bit of Jennifer in this season premiere.
Yep.
You have seen most of that season, so I'm sure she pops up at some point. But it would have been nice to see her.
I agree. It would have been nice to see her pop up in the opening episode as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But although Mariner, she was probably on leave, like she was supposed to be, and Mariner was obviously not on leave. So there is that, or on leave but not on leave, like so focused on what was happening. So I
thought it was interesting that Mariner also mentioned that where did she grow up, since she mentioned she didn't grow up on Earth.
I don't remember either, but yeah, she didn't. Earth isn't really home.
She had no connection to
San Francisco.
She was like, "What's this red?"
Yeah,
like the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes, people don't drive anymore. Why is it still there? There
were solar panels.
Right. Yes. No, I know why it's there. You don't need to explain it to me. There's. Yeah. I mean, it was a heavy Mariner episode for sure. I mean, this was all about Mariner.
Right. It was. Yes. It was.
And her anger, which, with Jack with her under Jack now, we'll see how she manages her anger.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely gotten her into trouble in the past. So will that change?
Well,
TBD.
Yeah. Well, we will see.
I don't know.
So yeah, I would say it's a solid opening to the season.
No, it wasn't bad. I know I had notes, but it wasn't bad. It was just like I wanted more.
Yeah, and also on the Ready Room, Mike McMahon said, we couldn't really keep it's 1/10 of the of their season, so you couldn't really keep the crew apart or have extended absence of Carol Freeman from
I was like looking at like my watch, and I was like, okay, they're like, it's nearing the end of the episode and they haven't resolved anything, so I feel they're just gonna I had a feeling they were just gonna kind of like sweep it on the rug.
Well, I mean, yeah,
because I was like, no, I was like reaching, I was like, yeah, I was thinking that I was like, this is not one of like, it's not like DS9 where they can be away from the station for like 6-7 episodes, like they can't drag it out because there are only 10 episodes that are like 20 minutes each, and it's not super serialized, so they can't have like a part 2, which is basically a part 3 to the whole story.
Right. Yeah. So they did have to wrap it up, which they did. Yeah. So next week everyone's back and away the Cerritos goes.
Yeah, I guess, and things are back to normal, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, I thought it was a solid opening to the season, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that does it for this episode. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about our sponsor?
Sure. Fansets,
who we did not see in Vegas because we were not.
We were not in Vegas, but they were, and I think they had a good show, and they have already put up their pins from the show, which I was surprised at. So there's a bunch of new pins to check out, including pin and magnetic Strange New World deltas. So all new deltas for command, sciences, and operations. They've got the Vegas poker chip with Lieutenant Mariner Hold'em or Fold'em on there. And also this, surprisingly, it's really nice, actually. The new Captain Michael Burnham Vegas limited edition pin from the Women of Trek series. So that came out. And then also they did do a Jet Reno pin, which is cool.
Oh, cool.
So a ton of new pins, as well as the deltas for Prodigy, which is also a nice different delta. I just really like it. So a ton of great new releases. And I think I mentioned it last week, they've also got their final approval for the original Delta from Next Generation. So season 1, season 2, the circular one that we all remember from the beginning of Next Generation, which was really cool.
Right.
So that should be coming out soon. So keep an eye on Fansets through social media is usually the best place to find out about new releases. I follow them, and that's where I find out all the up and coming pins. So head on over to fansets.com. If you put a bunch of pins in your cart, including the Strange New Worlds Memorial pin set, which is also amazing as well. If you spend more than $30, you're going to get free shipping in the US. And if you use the code TrekGeeks, all one word, you are going to get 10% off your order. And we want to thank Fansets for being the exclusive sponsor of Deep Space Pride and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Thanks, Fansets. All right. Well, we would love to hear from you when it comes to your thoughts on Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 1. So if you want to reach us on social media, you can DM us on Twitter and Instagram at Deep Space Pride, or you can email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com. And one of us will try to get back to you.
Yes, we will. So.
Oh, and if you like this episode, we would love to get a 4 or 5 star review from you on your podcast platform of choice. So yes, leave us a review. Tell us what you think, and get us up in those algorithms.
And also, since we are heading towards 100, and we would love to have a special guest related to Star Trek.
I just do like a call out to be a guest on our show.
If you happen to know Wilson Cruz offhand, as a personal friend, you could introduce us, or Anthony Rapp, or both. I mean, it'd be great to have both. That'd be awesome.
We'll take it.
Yeah. We would love to have them on the show. So, especially on episode 100. So,
yeah, why not?
That sounds like a plan. So if you have any connections to that, let us know and help us out.
No. Cool. All right, Mike. Well, that does it for another episode of Deep Space Pride.
Yes. And we'll be back here next week to talk about the next episode of Lower Decks and anything else. Oh, and Star Trek Day is coming up. So we'll have...
Oh, yeah.
People are already... That's next Thursday. So actually, I don't know if we'll record before then or not. We've not planned out next week's recording date.
Hopefully they have some announcements for us because it's a little dry.
Yes. Well, I mean, we have a show opening, so meaning like there's an opening for a new show to be announced, right? Considering that Picard is in final post-production. So maybe we'll get the schedule for the rest of the year.
Maybe.
And
that'd be good to know. I like to plan.
Right.
As you know.
Yes, you do.
I like to plan my life.
Yes. So
it would be nice to know what I have to look forward to.
Yes, absolutely. And
absolutely.
So hopefully we'll have some things to talk about next week besides Lower Decks. So, well, thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.